Once upon a time, in a poor village surrounded by wide farmlands, there lived a widow named Mama Grace. She had only one daughter, Ada, a young girl with bright eyes and a gentle smile. Life was not easy for them. Since her husband's death, Mama Grace struggled to provide. She worked from morning till night, planting cassava, weeding, carrying firewood, and selling vegetables at the market just to buy food. But no matter how poor they were, Mama Grace always reminded her daughter to walk with dignity. Ada, she often said, "Poverty is not shame, but wickedness is." Those words kept Ada strong whenever villagers mocked her torn clothes or empty basket. One year, the village prepared for the annual harvest festival. The square was decorated with palm leaves, drums echoed, and people gathered with joy. For Ada, the festival was a chance to forget hunger for one night. She tied her mother's old wrapper and walked with her friends to watch the dancers. That same night, a group of flashy cars drove into the village. The air filled with the sound of horns and laughter. It was Daniel, the only son of a powerful billionaire. His father owned big companies in the city, and Daniel was known for his reckless living. He was tall, handsome, and arrogant, the kind of man who believed money could buy anything. He had come with his rich friends to the village festival, not out of love for culture, but for entertainment. When Daniel's eyes fell on Ada, something stirred in him. She was different from the girls who usually threw themselves at him. Though her clothes were simple, she carried herself with quiet beauty. Daniel smirked and whispered to his friends, "That one will be mine before the night ends." As the festival went on, Daniel approached Ada with smooth words. "You are too beautiful to be in this village," he said. "Come with me, and I will change your life." Ada shook her head. "Leave me alone. I don't want trouble." But Daniel was not a man who accepted refusal. He bought her roasted meat, offered her drinks, and flattered her with promises of a better future. At first, Ada resisted, but her innocence and trust slowly gave way to his charm. Daniel lied that he loved her, that he would marry her, that his parents would welcome her into their wealthy family. The night grew darker, and before Ada understood the danger, Daniel had gotten what he wanted. He left her with a careless smile, driving away in his car, while Ada stood under the moonlight, confused and broken. Weeks later, Ada discovered she was pregnant. Her heart shook with fear. She thought of her mother, of the shame, of the villagers' gossip. She ran to the city to find Daniel, hoping he would keep his promise. But when Daniel heard her words, his face twisted with anger. "Pregnant? With my child? Are you mad?" he shouted. "Do you think a poor farmer's daughter can trap me with a baby? Never." Ada cried and begged. "Daniel, please. You promised me marriage. I didn't force myself on you. This is your child." But Daniel's pride was too strong. "Listen to me," he said coldly. "If you ever come near me again, you will regret it. I don't know you, and I don't want to know you." With tears blinding her eyes, Ada returned to the village. Her mother, though heartbroken, embraced her. But the shame was heavy. The villagers whispered and laughed. Ada carried her burden in silence, while her mother prayed every night for God's mercy. They did not know the worst was yet to come. The days in the village grew longer for Ada. Morning after morning, when the sun rose and women carried their baskets to the farm, whispers followed her. The swelling of her stomach could no longer be hidden. At first, she tied wrappers tightly around her waist, but the truth pushed its way out, as life always does. "Have you seen her?" Women whispered at the stream, their laughter cruel. The poor farmer's daughter, pregnant for someone she cannot name. She wanted to trap a rich man. Now look at her, disgracing her mother. Their words cut Ada like sharp knives. Whenever she bent to fetch water, she could feel their eyes burning holes into her back. She tried to be strong, but tears rolled silently into the clay pot she carried. Mama Grace suffered too. She was a widow, and her only pride had been her daughter's innocence. Now she watched Ada walk through the village with her head bowed. The mocking voices of neighbors were louder than drums. Yet Mama Grace never lifted her hand against Ada. Instead, she sat beside her every night, placing her thin hands on Ada's belly. "My child," she whispered, "a mistake does not end your life. This baby is innocent. You must carry it with courage. Do not fear the laughter of men. Their voices will fade, but your dignity must remain. But Ada's heart was restless. She could not forget Daniel. His smooth lies haunted her. She remembered the glint in his eyes, the promises of love, the false warmth in his voice. One evening, she begged her mother, "Let me go again to the city. I must see him. Maybe if I cry before him, he will change his mind." Mama Grace's heart trembled, but she could not chain her daughter. With a heavy sigh, she gave Ada transport money, the little she had earned from selling cassava. "Go, but go with God," she said. The city was loud and bright, a different world from their quiet village. Ada's wrapper looked strange among the shining dresses of city girls. She stood outside Daniel's father's mansion, holding her stomach with one hand and her hope with the other. When at last Daniel came out, his face twisted with disgust. "You again," he barked. "Did I not warn you? Do you want my father to see you here and disgrace me?" Ada fell to her knees. Her tears flowed freely. "Daniel, please. I have nowhere else to go. This child is yours. My mother is old and poor. If you will not marry me, at least accept your blood. Do not leave me to suffer alone." Daniel's eyes hardened like stone. He glanced around quickly, afraid the guards might overhear. Then his voice dropped to a cold whisper. "You think you can shame me? You worthless thing. Leave this place, or you will regret it." But Ada clung to his feet, crying louder. "Daniel, please, for the sake of this child." He shoved her away so roughly that she fell to the ground. "Listen carefully," he said, pointing a finger at her face. "If you return here again, I will make sure you disappear from this earth." The guards laughed as Ada staggered to her feet, dust on her wrapper, tears staining her cheeks. She ran until her legs ached, until her cries drowned in the city noise. That night she returned to the village broken, her hope crushed like dry leaves. When Mama Grace saw her, she wrapped her arms around her daughter. "What did he say?" she asked with trembling lips. Ada sobbed into her mother's chest. "He called me worthless. He said if I go back again, he will destroy me." The old widow closed her eyes, pain etched deep into her wrinkled face. She whispered, "God in heaven, is this the reward of the poor? Must we suffer because we have no name, no power, no wealth?" The fire in her heart burned, but she kept silent. For now, she chose to protect her daughter. But in her silence, an unspoken storm was gathering, a storm that would soon meet Daniel's cruelty. Mama Grace was not a woman of boldness. All her life she had bowed to hardship, swallowing tears in silence. But as Ada's belly grew and the whispers in the village turned to open insults, something inside her changed. The shame was no longer hers alone. It had become a wound pressed into her daughter's soul. One dawn, she tied her old faded wrapper across her chest, placed a scarf over her head, and began the long journey to the city. She carried no gift, no food, nothing but the trembling courage of a mother defending her only child. Ada wept when she saw her mother preparing to leave. "Mama, don't go. They will laugh at you. They will not listen." But Mama Grace shook her head. "A child may be rejected by the world, but never by her mother. If Daniel will not hear you, perhaps he will hear me." The road was long and dusty. She walked for hours, resting only under mango trees by the roadside. Her legs ached. Her breath was heavy, but her heart pushed her forward. By evening, she stood before the mighty gates of the billionaire's mansion. The iron bars were taller than palm trees, shining in the sunlight. Cars moved in and out, guarded by men in black suits. When the guards saw the poor widow standing barefoot in the dust, they laughed. "Woman, what do you want here? This is not a market square." With trembling lips, Mama Grace said, "Please, I must speak with Daniel and his father. Tell them the mother of Ada has come." The guards exchanged mocking glances. One shouted into his walkie-talkie, and soon Daniel appeared, wearing a fine white shirt and gold watch. His face darkened when he recognized her. "You again? First your daughter, now you? Is this how desperate you poor rats are?" Mama Grace knelt on the ground, dust clinging to her wrapper. "Daniel, I beg you, have mercy. My daughter carries your child. If you will not marry her, at least accept the baby. Do not let us suffer shame. She is young. Her life should not be destroyed." Daniel sneered. "Destroyed? She destroyed herself the day she came near me. And you think I will take responsibility for a mistake? Never. At that moment, his father, Chief Williams, stepped out of the mansion. He was a tall, heavy man with silver hair and eyes that commanded fear. Behind him trailed servants carrying briefcases. When he saw the scene, he demanded, "What is this noise at my gate?" Daniel quickly answered, "Father, this is the mother of a village girl who claims I made her daughter pregnant. She has come to beg." Chief William's face turned to stone. He looked Mama Grace up and down as though she were dirt on his shoe. "Is this true, woman?" Mama Grace pressed her forehead to the ground. "Yes, sir. My daughter Ada, she is with child. Daniel is the father. We are poor, but we are not liars. I beg you, do not let her suffer. She has no one else." For a moment there was silence. Then Chief William's voice thundered like a whip. "How dare you bring shame to my family's name? Do you know who I am? Do you know the empire I control? And you, a poor widow, dare to stand at my gate with this nonsense?" Mama Grace's tears fell freely. "I beg you, sir. We are human too. If not for me, then for the child. Your blood is in her womb." Chief Williams turned sharply to his guards. "Remove this woman. Let her never be seen here again. If she returns, you know what to do." The guards grabbed Mama Grace by her arms and dragged her across the ground. She screamed, "Daniel, remember your child. Do not kill your own blood with wickedness." But Daniel only turned away, embarrassed by the neighbors watching. Thrown out into the dust, Mama Grace lay there until night fell. When she finally staggered home, her heart was broken, but her spirit had tasted something darker than poverty, the wickedness of the powerful. And from that day, the cruelty of Daniel and his father would no longer remain in words. Soon, their actions would strike like lightning against the poor widow and her daughter. The words of Chief Williams did not end at the mansion gate. In his heart, he carried a pride too large to bend. To him, poverty was filth, and people like Mama Grace and her daughter were pests to be crushed. The very night Mama Grace returned to the village, her body weak and dusty, Chief Williams called his son into his study. The room was filled with expensive furniture, shelves of books that had never been read, and a glass table that reflected the light of a golden lamp. "Daniel," Chief Williams said, his voice cold, "we cannot allow the scandal to grow. If word spreads that a poor farmer's daughter carries your child, it will stain our family's name. People will laugh at us. Investors will question our discipline. This must end now." Daniel leaned back in his chair, swirling a glass of wine. "Father, she is stubborn. I told her to stay away, but she came again. She and her mother will not stop until they get something from us." Chief Williams' eyes narrowed. "Then make sure they stop. Permanently. I will not have my empire dragged into the mud by beggars." Daniel smirked, though a flicker of unease crossed his face. "What do you mean?" His father leaned forward, lowering his voice. "Send the men. Destroy their house. Strip them of whatever little they depend on. Let them learn what happens to those who challenge lions while living as ants." Daniel hesitated only a moment. Then he nodded. "As you wish, father." In the village, Ada lay awake beside her mother. The night was cold, and the thin raffia roof could not stop the wind. Mama Grace covered her daughter with her own wrapper, whispering, "Sleep, my child. Tomorrow will be better." But tomorrow would never come. Close to midnight, the sound of heavy boots thundered into the village. Black jeeps parked near Mama Grace's mud house. Men in dark clothes stepped out, carrying sticks and iron bars. Their faces were hidden, but their mission was clear. Ada sat up, fear gripping her chest. "Mama, what is happening?" Before Mama Grace could answer, the door burst open with a violent kick. The guards stormed in, their voices sharp. "Out! Out now!" Mama Grace knelt before them. "Please, we are poor women. We have done nothing wrong. Have mercy." One of the guards shoved her aside. "Orders are orders. Move." They began tearing at the house, smashing clay pots, overturning the wooden bed, breaking the roof with their iron bars. The fragile walls cracked and fell, scattering dust into the night air. Ada screamed as she clutched her swollen belly, trying to save what little belongings they had. "Please stop. There is a pregnant woman here. You will kill us." But the guards only laughed. their boots trampling clothes, food, and memories. Within minutes, the house that had sheltered the widow and her daughter was nothing but ruins. Mama Grace held Ada close as they were pushed outside into the cold night. The guards drove away, leaving behind silence, a silence heavier than thunder. The villagers, who had watched from afar, whispered among themselves. Some pitied the widow, others were too afraid to help. No one dared to challenge the men of the rich. That night, under the open sky, Ada wept until her body shook. "Mama, where will we go? We have nothing now." Mama Grace tried to be strong, though her tears would not stop. "My daughter," she said softly, "a house may fall, but life must continue. We will endure." But the wind grew colder, the hunger sharper, and the ground harder. The destruction was not just of mud walls. It was the destruction of hope. And soon, the cruelty of that night would claim a life no amount of wealth could ever restore. The night after their house was destroyed, the moon hung pale and far away. Mama Grace and Ada sat on the bare ground, leaning against one another for warmth. The wind whistled through the trees, carrying with it a sharp chill that bit into their bones. Ada wrapped her arms around her swollen belly. "Mama, I am cold," she whispered, her teeth chattering. Mama Grace pulled her close, pressing her own wrapper over Ada's shoulders. "Take this, my child. I can endure." But Ada shook her head. "No, Mama. You will fall sick." Mama Grace forced a smile through trembling lips. "I have already lived half of life. You have a child to protect. Keep it." The words fell like stones in Ada's heart. She looked at her mother, whose face was lined with wrinkles of struggle. The woman who had once been strong in the farm now looked thinner, weaker, her back bent from years of hardship. And now, without a roof, even the little strength she had was draining away. When morning came, they rose to face hunger. The pot they once used for cooking lay broken in the rubble. Their tubers of yam and dried cassava had been scattered, trampled by boots. Not a morsel remained. Ada, weak from pregnancy, tried to search for food. She went from neighbor to neighbor, but doors were shut against her. Some only opened halfway, whispering with pity. Others mocked her boldly. "Is it not her fault?" one woman said loudly. She wanted to climb above her level. "Now see where it has brought her." Ada's eyes stung with tears. She begged, "Please, even a handful of Gary. My mother is weak. She has eaten nothing since yesterday." But the woman folded her arms. "Go to the father of your child. Is he not rich? Why disturb poor people like us?" With empty hands, Ada returned to her mother. Mama Grace was sitting on a broken log, staring into the distance. Her lips were dry, her face pale. Ada knelt before her, sobbing. "Mama, forgive me. If not for me, you would not be suffering like this." Mama Grace stroked her daughter's hair weakly. "No, Ada. Do not carry all the blame. The wickedness of men is greater than your mistake. But we must not give up. Even if the world denies us food, we must trust that heaven sees." But heaven's answer did not come quickly. Day turned to night again, and the cold grew harsher. Without mats or blankets, they lay on the bare earth, their bodies shaking. Ada tried to shield her mother, but Mama Grace coughed through the night, her body shivering uncontrollably. By the third day, her strength was fading. She could barely stand, and her voice became faint. "Ada," she whispered, "if I close my eyes and do not wake, promise me you will fight for your child. Do not let this wickedness destroy you completely." Ada clung to her mother, weeping uncontrollably. "No, Mama, you will not die. Please hold on. I will find something for us to eat. I will beg again." She rushed out, knocking on more doors, pleading in the market, even offering to fetch water or wash plates just for a handful of food. But people looked away. To them, she was cursed, a lesson to other girls who dreamed of the rich. When Ada returned, her hands were still empty. She found Mama Grace lying weakly, her eyes half closed. Ada fell beside her, shaking her shoulders. "Mama, stay with me. Please don't leave me." Mama Grace opened her eyes slowly. With the last of her strength, she smiled at her daughter. "Do not cry, my child. Remember, I love you." That night, under the cruel wind, hunger and cold took Mama Grace's life. Ada's wail pierced the silent village, a cry of sorrow that no one came to comfort. The neighbors listened from behind closed doors, their hearts heavy with either guilt or fear, but none dared to step out. By dawn, the widow who had once bent her back in the farm, who had endured hunger for years, who had shielded her daughter from shame, lay lifeless on the ground. Ada, broken and alone, clutched her mother's body and whispered, "Daniel, you have killed us. You have killed my mother." And from that moment, sorrow turned to a seed of bitterness in Ada's heart, a seed that would grow with time. The morning after Mama Grace's death, the village woke to the sound of Ada's cries. Her voice, raw with grief, carried across the fields like a mourning bird. Some villagers came to the edge of the compound to see what had happened, but none stepped forward. They whispered from a distance. "She is dead," one said. "Hunger and cold have finished her," another replied. "Did we not warn Ada? This is the price of shame." Their words stung, but Ada no longer cared. She lay on the ground, her mother's lifeless body in her arms, rocking back and forth. Her hair was loose, her wrapper dirty with dust, and her eyes swollen from sleepless nights. "Mama," she whispered again and again, "wake up. Don't leave me. You promised to stay. How can I carry this pain alone?" But Mama Grace's silence was heavy, final. The warmth of her embrace was gone, leaving Ada with nothing but the bitter truth. She was alone in the world. By midday, a few kind-hearted neighbors, moved by pity, helped dig a shallow grave under a mango tree at the edge of the farm. No coffin, no fine cloth, only the earth itself to cover the woman who had lived and died in poverty. Ada, trembling with sorrow, watched as her mother was lowered into the ground. She screamed until her voice broke, her hands clawing at the soil as though she could pull her back. "Let me go with her." Ada cried, "I cannot live without you, Mama. Take me too." The women held her back gently. One old woman whispered, "My daughter, the living must endure. Wipe your tears. Your mother has rested. You must carry her memory now." But Ada could not be comforted. As the earth swallowed her mother, bitterness swallowed her soul. The days that followed were darker than nights. Without her mother's sheltering arms, Ada wandered the village like a shadow. She had no home, no food, no family. Some villagers pitied her, offering her small scraps, a little Gary, a piece of firewood. But many turned their faces away, shaking their heads. "Let her suffer," they said. "Perhaps others will learn from her mistake." Her pregnancy grew heavier, and with it, the burden of shame. Children mocked her when she passed, singing cruel songs. Women whispered behind her back. Even men laughed openly, calling her Daniel's discarded toy. At night, she slept on cold floors, sometimes under abandoned sheds, sometimes beside the graveside where her mother lay. She would place her hand on the mound of earth and whisper, "Mama, I am here. Protect me if you can. Give me strength to face this cruelty." Her body grew weaker, but her heart began to harden. Each day, as she endured hunger and insults, her thoughts returned to Daniel. She remembered his laughter as he walked away, his threats, his father's cold words, the guards who tore down their home. Her pain turned into a quiet fire, burning deep in her chest. "This child will live," she said one evening as she sat alone under the tree. "And one day, Daniel will know the truth. One day, the world will see the wickedness he has done. He will not laugh forever." But for now, survival was all she could manage. Her hands shook with weakness, her stomach cramped with hunger, her heart broke with loneliness. Yet through it all, she pressed her palm to her belly and whispered to the unborn child, "You are all I have now. I will not let them destroy you too." The villagers thought Ada had been broken completely, but they were wrong. In her silence, something was forming, not joy, not peace, but a fierce determination born out of pain. And though she was alone, she carried inside her not just a child, but a seed of vengeance against the cruelty that had destroyed her life. Far away in the city, Daniel lived as though nothing had happened. The destruction of a mud house, the tears of a poor widow, the death of a mother meant nothing to him. He was surrounded by wealth, friends, and pleasures. Expensive cars lined his father's compound. Music and laughter filled his nights. Wine flowed, and women gathered around him, drawn by his money and charm. To Daniel, life was a game. His father's empire was his shield. No one questioned his actions. No one held him accountable. If rumors of Ada's pregnancy reached his ears, he laughed them away. She wanted to climb where she did not belong, he told his friends. She is lucky I spared her life. And they all laughed with him, mocking the poor girl they had never even seen. Chief Williams, too, carried on with pride. He signed contracts, shook hands with politicians, and gave speeches about family honor and discipline. To the world, he was a man of integrity. Only he and his son knew the truth buried beneath their glittering wealth. The truth of a ruined home and a dead widow. But in the village, life was a shadow of that careless city. Ada walked through days of hunger with her stomach heavy and her heart heavier still. She had no father to protect her, no mother to comfort her, no house to shelter her. The grave of Mama Grace was her only place of rest. Often she sat there at dusk, speaking softly to the mound of earth. Mama, the world has forgotten me. They think I will die like you. But I will not. I will live for this child. I will live even if it breaks me. The villagers' cruelty did not end. Women pointed at her in the market. Men mocked her with cruel songs. Children ran behind her, laughing and calling her the abandoned wife of the rich. Yet Ada's silence grew like armor. Where once she wept openly, now she pressed her lips together and endured. Each insult she swallowed became fuel for the quiet fire burning within her. One night, as the moon glowed faintly behind clouds, Ada lay on the cold earth beside her mother's grave. Her body shivered from the night air, and her stomach groaned from emptiness. She placed her hand on her belly and whispered to her unborn child, "Your father may be rich, but he is wicked. He will never claim you. But I will raise you with whatever little strength I have. You will not grow up to be ashamed of me. You will be my reason to live." Tears slid down her face, but they no longer felt like weakness. They felt like promises. In the city, Daniel celebrated his birthday with great noise. Guests filled the hall, dressed in fine clothes. Music thundered, and lights sparkled across crystal glasses. Daniel, drunk with wine and arrogance, stood before his friends and raised his voice. "Look at me," he shouted, laughter in his tone. "I am the son of Williams. Who can bring me down? No one. The poor are beneath me. They are like dust under my feet." The crowd cheered, clapping and laughing. To them, Daniel was a prince who could do no wrong. But beyond the shining lights of the city, under the dark sky of the village, a poor pregnant girl whispered into the cold wind, "One day, Daniel, you will see. Heaven does not sleep. The poor have no power, but God hears their cry." And as Ada's words faded into the night, the story of cruelty was not ending. It was only waiting for its turn to return upon those who had sown it. The rains returned to the village. Heavy drops fell from the sky, soaking the red earth and turning the paths into rivers of mud. For Ada, each drop felt like a reminder of her loneliness. She had no roof to shield her, no arms to wrap around her, no voice to call her daughter anymore. One night, as thunder rolled across the sky, Ada felt a sharp pain in her belly. She clutched her stomach and staggered to the side of her mother's grave. Her breath came in short gasps, her body trembling with fear. "It is time," she whispered, tears mixing with rain on her face. "Mama, help me. I cannot do this alone." The pains grew stronger, tearing through her body like fire. She cried out into the night, her voice carried by the wind. But no one came. The villagers heard her wails, but most turned their faces away. Some shook their heads in silence, saying, "It is her punishment." Hours passed. Alone, on the wet ground, Ada struggled between life and death. She pressed her forehead to the earth, begging for strength. Her hands clawed at the mud as another wave of pain gripped her. And then, at last, a sound broke through the storm, the cry of a newborn child. Weak, shivering, but alive, Ada cradled the small, slippery body against her chest. The baby's wail pierced the night, louder than the thunder, sharper than the rain. In that moment, something inside Ada shifted. Despite her sorrow, despite her brokenness, she felt a spark of purpose. "My child," she whispered, kissing the baby's forehead, "you are the reason I will live. You are all I have now." By dawn, word spread through the village. Ada had given birth. Some women finally came, carrying cloths and warm water. They wrapped the baby and cleaned Ada's trembling body. Though their help came late, they could not ignore the innocent cry of a child. The villagers gathered, peering at the tiny boy in Ada's arms. His face was small, but his wail was strong. And among the whispers, one truth passed from mouth to mouth. This is Daniel's son. Some pitied Ada. Others still mocked. But none could deny that the blood of the rich now lay in the arms of the poor. Far away in the city, Daniel laughed in another party hall. Wine flowed, music thundered, and women danced. He had forgotten Ada completely. To him, she was a shadow that had long disappeared. But shadows have a way of returning. For while he lifted his glass in pride, his own son lay in a broken village hut, wrapped in rags, cradled by a mother he had cast aside. That night, as Ada watched her baby sleep, she whispered through her tears, "Daniel, you destroyed my house. You killed my mother. You left me to die. But this child is alive. He is proof of your cruelty, and one day he will know the truth." She pressed the baby close, her heart heavy but determined. The road ahead was uncertain, filled with hunger and pain. Yet in her arms, she held the only light left to her. The story of wickedness was not over. It had only begun to plant its seeds, seeds that would grow into lessons the world could never forget. Power may crush, but it cannot silence the cry of the innocent. Wealth may destroy, but it cannot erase the memory of the wronged. And when the poor weep, heaven listens. Under the mango tree where her mother slept, Ada made a vow. They thought they ended us, but as long as this child lives, our story will live too. And the wind carried her words into the night, a quiet promise of justice yet to come.